The Dukes of Dice are brought to you by Tasty Minstrel Games. Check out all their awesome titles at playtmg.com.
Welcome to the Duchy. It's time for another episode of the Dukes of Dice podcast, a proud member of the Dice Tower Network.
Coming to you from Dice Tower Con 2017, Orlando, Florida, it's the Dukes of Dice, a podcast about board, card, and occasionally role-playing games. Today, the Dukes recap their Dice Tower Con experience, and then they review Flip Ships from Renegade Games. They're also joined for all of this by special guest Duke Suzanne Sheldon. And now, the Dukes of Dice.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Sean.
And Alex.
And Suzanne.
Welcome, Suzanne. How you doing?
I'm excellent. I might be a little undercaffeinated, but I'm having so much fun, I kind of try to push through that.
I think you need to bring like a bag of coffee with you next time, of good coffee, so you can make good coffee and not be so dead.
Yeah, that's my plan, actually. That's honestly my plan, is I'm going to bring good coffee, and I'm going to buy bottled water and make my own coffee. It's a good lesson learned right there.
We call that the Travis Hill. You got to do the Travis Hill.
It's true. It's true. I should have learned ahead of time, because he's got that whole thing down pat. So now I've learned my lesson. We'll move on.
Yeah, I'm hurting right now. I got 3 hours of sleep last night. I got 3 hours the night before. Yes, I know,
no,
Alex.
Wait a minute. Wait.
I know.
You were playing Bruges. Did you play something after Bruges?
No, it was a long Bruges.
Okay.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, way ahead.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. This is episode 151, which we're titling Rasp of Con. I like how you just mouthed it to me as I said it, as if I was going to forget it.
Just in case.
Yeah, so anyway,
I got your back.
Rasp of Con, named courtesy BJ from Board Game Gumbo, who we actually got to meet for the first time here.
He's 2 tables away from us physically at this moment.
He's filming the...
semis, that's the semis.
The semis for the Baseball Highlights 2045 tournament, right?
Yeah, I got knocked out quite quick. I had a bye in the first round.
Because you're terrible.
Because I'm terrible.
But go
and
on.
then I lost to Berkey, who's actually really good.
First mention! We didn't say first mention.
First mention.
Oh.
Yeah.
I got it.
Well, you beat me to it.
I know.
Is that how tired you guys are, that you actually forgot first mention? That's tired.
I'm not that tired. I'm just dumb.
Well, jeez. I'm going to leave that one alone. But we name all of our episodes thanks to our amazing board game guild number 2008. We're going to have some runners up at the end of the show, but definitely go check that out, because every week we put up a Dukes on deck where you can kind of preview what we're doing and contribute to the show. So good job, BJ. And let's talk about this con. We are here in sunny, sort of,
occasionally tornado-infested Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, there was a tornado warning last night. It touched down. There were several cows, like in the movie Twister, that came through. No? Okay.
Nah, not quite.
But yeah, we're here. I got in Tuesday. Suzanne, when'd you get in?
Yeah, I got in Tuesday night. And because, flights around the 4th of July were a little wackadoo from Seattle.
Yeah.
So I've been here since Tuesday night. I forget. I literally cannot remember what day it is right now. So I've been here for a few days.
It's only Wednesday.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Oh,
No, it's Saturday.
Man,
It's Saturday of the con right now.
All right. So I've been here for that many days, and I've had fun on all of them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Alex, you got in Wednesday night, right?
That's right, Wednesday evening, and was able to get in a couple games before the night was called, but that day, not a ton went on, but you actually got here Tuesday, which was in doubt for a while.
It was in doubt. I actually had a trial scheduled for Thursday, which by all accounts was going to go away, and it finally went away under the wire on Wednesday at like the end of the business day back in Albuquerque. Now, it all worked out, but it was a very stressful Tuesday and Wednesday, but it worked out for the best. So
what were some of the games you guys got in early in the con, Tuesday, Wednesday games?
Well, for those of the Duke audience that don't know, I help the team at Restoration Games, and so when I came in on Tuesday, one of the things I immediately went into was demoing some of the games coming out from Restoration Games at Gen Con this year. So I got to actually teach Downforce and Indulgence, and it's tough because now that I actually, get a little bit of money from Restoration, anything I say positive about them sounds like I'm shilling. So it's really, really tough because I actually really love these games. And I know, right? And they're so much fun. So it was kind of fun to come in and spread the good word about some of these fun games. So that's what I did on Tuesday night.
Well, so when I came in, I texted you and, hey, what's going on? And you're like, oh, I'm down here with Justin. I'm like, I don't know who Justin is, whatever. And I had a copy of Downforce that Restoration had sent us, because we talked about it last week on the show. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to bring Downforce down. And so I brought it down. You're like, oh, this is Justin from Restoration Games. And I'm like, oh, does it look like I'm pandering right now?
Yeah, right. I know. Like, oh, whoops, did I do this?
Ooh.
Yeah, you're a little bit brown. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe your nose is a little bit brown there, but no, it was super fun. And so, yeah.
Well, I taught Downforce a couple times, and we talked about it last week, and we'll also be doing a featured review of it in the very, very near future. But we also got to play Indulgence.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. Now, I don't recall off the top of my head because I'm super tired, but this was originally...
Dragon Master.
That's right. Yeah.
The Master of Dragons.
This is a trick-taking game where everything changes every round. Basically, in Indulgence, one person is the Pope for the turn, I think. I don't know. Are you the Pope?
I honestly don't know.
I feel like you're the Pope,
yeah,
right?
But yeah.
And so there are these 3 edict cards, which are basically the objectives for that particular hand.
Right.
And so it might say, take none of this particular suit, or don't take any pairs of 2s and 6s or something like that. I forget what.
Yeah, there's a huge variety of them.
Right.
Yeah.
A ton. I think 20. And so as the Pope, or whatever you're called, you pick one of those edicts, and then everyone else decides to either follow that edict or say, no, I'm going to be a sinner, and they do the opposite. And depending on how you do, you're going to be giving points either to the Pope or to the sinner. And so what was really cool was that what you were trying to do each hand was drastically different from the first one. And sometimes you can even use your once per game papal bowl to make all 3 edicts be in play at once.
Right.
Yeah. So it was pretty crazy and very varied. Because, like I said, it was changing from hand to hand. It was it was longer than most trick-taking games, I think, but because it wasn't the same thing every round, it didn't feel samey. It didn't just feel like you were just kind of trudging along. It was new, it was unique, it was dynamic, I think. So, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm personally just in general a fan of trick-taking games. Like Pinochle is one of my all-time favorite games, period. And Indulgence is based on Dragon Master, and I think which is also based on like coup d'etat. Like people talk about this game a lot. And I the older version had like 3 edicts, and so it got a little bit stale. We've added all these, 20 up to 20 edicts, and again, kind of shilling. Oh gosh, this is rough. I've never been in it. I know, right? The components I'm really proud of. I think all the art is beautiful. All the cards have different art. There's little like Easter eggs worked into the art, and then we have these huge plastic gems, and the money tokens are really nice. And
they're shiny. They're shiny cardboard.
Oh, they're like mirror shine cardboard. It's amazing, and you get this massive ring as that when you're oh my gosh, my brain, I'm totally brain farting, but you get the ring when you're
as the sinner.
Yeah, as the sinner,
right.
when you're going for it, and so between the gameplay and the components, it's $20, and I think it's a great game. I love playing it.
And what the best part though is that the ring has this nice gem in it, and it's this big chunky metal ring, and it's a nicer ring than the ring you get in Tom Vassel's Nothing Personal. So take that.
What are you trying to start here?
No, nothing,
come on, Sean.
That's okay. He totally doesn't listen to the show, so it's fine.
He knew I was gone, though.
He knew you were gone for 14 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, which we'll talk about when we talk about the Dice Tower Awards. But yeah, okay. Anyway. So yeah, that was pretty much Tuesday night. We kind of got we went to bed early because we wanted to get ready for the rest of the week, Alex, and get ready for your arrival.
Well, yeah, everyone needs to prepare for that.
Absolutely.
Red carpet, people carrying me in on a sled. It was awesome.
Yeah,
it was pretty epic.
Yeah.
Best entrance I've ever had.
Yeah.
Next year it'll be WrestleMania themed, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely the plan. There's gonna be a lot of leotards.
You don't have to humor him right now,
Okay.
Suzanne.
Okay. Thank goodness. Oh, thanks, Sean. That's a relief.
So Wednesday, first full day for you, Suze, and myself, and Alex's first partial day. So Alex, how was your flight out?
Lovely.
Okay.
Fine.
Any problems?
No.
No?
No, none whatsoever.
Okay, great.
Yeah. What about you, Sean?
Mine was fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just wanted you to, I don't know, spice something up or tell me.
I was flying through the air at some great speed, and then I got here.
Okay.
Back to you.
You're quite the story crafter there.
Of course. I painted a word picture.
You sure did. Wow, this is going off the rails.
Excellent.
Pretty quick.
Let's talk about games.
Let's talk about games. So, Alex, when'd you get in? You got in.
So I got in about 4 o'clock is when I landed. I was at the hotel, checked in, all that good stuff by about 5:30. And the first game I played at the con was with Suzanne.
Oh.
Happened to find Suzanne. It feels like a needle in a haystack sometimes, but oftentimes it's easy enough to find people. It's a small enough con.
A needle, Suzanne.
In a haystack. That's fine. It means it's special among a bunch of haystack. Anyway.
It means she's prickly.
That also that. Yeah. First game we got in was Atlas Enchanted Lands, one of a couple J. Alex Kevern designs that Renegade Games is putting out. A quick 2-player game where you're basically putting out cards into rows and columns, and you're making predictions as to whether a chain is going to be created first by column or by row. That's effectively it. You're making bets as you go, placing chips. And it fairly simple mechanically and gorgeous art. Beth Sobel did the art for this one and looks fantastic. I don't know, Suze, anything else you wanted to add on that one?
Yeah, it nailed it, but it actually plays 2 to 4.
Oh, there you go. That's right.
Boo.
Boo me,
Alex,
for failing.
I was going to say, what did I do wrong? Jeez. Oh, man.
Don't correct me on player count. No, we happen to play a 2-player. I guess, yeah, it does range. Yep. Apologies.
So, Suze, are you sure you had enough brain power to play that after our first game of the day on Wednesday?
Well, our first game together. Because I was going to say that wasn't our first game. Yeah, thankfully, Atlas Enchanted Lands is simple enough mechanically to do that because our first game together of the day, Sean, was
PAX Premier, a Phil Eklund game that Josh from Grey Fox was nice enough to teach us. He's a big fan of the PAX games. And he had the game down, and this is something that you need someone who knows how to play like really well.
Yeah.
Because I think I talked about I had read the rules for PAX Renaissance, but I'm like, I don't understand like why I would ever do any action, like what the value is of it. I mean, anything like that. So this is colonial Afghanistan. There are 3 powers: Russia, I think the Afghanistan, Britain and Afghanistan itself. It's man, I don't even know how to describe this. Right? There's a little bit of an economic component to the game. There's a little bit of area control, except that it's not so much one type of piece. You're trying to control different aspects of the game with different types of pieces. There's tableau building. There's this kind of action. You're trying to max out the number of actions you can kind of take. There are 2 actions you can take, but then there's some free actions. And then ultimately you are loyal to one of those powers. But through our game, you were loyal to Britain, and I was loyal to Britain.
Right.
But I had their favor more than you did. But then towards the end of the game, that switched.
Right.
Yeah, this was interesting. I definitely need another play of this. I think Josh did a fantastic job teaching it.
Josh had that teach down.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
Yeah, it was really solid. Towards the end, I'm like, okay, I think I see how all these pieces kind of fit together. By no means was I mastering the game, but I'm like, okay, I think I see what's going on here. So I really enjoyed it.
I did too, and I definitely need a teacher. I own a number of Phil Eklund games, and I've never been able to make it through the rule book. They're just, he's a literal rocket scientist.
Literal.
And, he just overestimates how intelligent some of the people who want to play his games are. And I really liked PAX Premier. I liked a lot of things. I definitely didn't I had trouble tracking all the things that you were trying to consider at a given time, especially because the victory conditions change.
Right.
And that was my biggest problem. So I think if I just had like a little cheaty card that helped give me like a player aid, that would have helped me a lot. And it's definitely one I look forward to playing it again.
Yeah.
It's definitely one I look forward to playing it. And contrary to maybe popular belief around some of Eklund's games, like that's a quick game.
Yeah.
It's not a 30-minute game, but I think now that we know it, you crank out that game in 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's super snappy. I was never bored, and turns were pretty quick.
Yeah.
I was really engaged the whole time. Really, where my pain was on the game is just like my brain trying to absorb it all.
Right.
Yeah, so I like that. PAX Premiere.
One of the ones I got in later in the night was with folks from the guild. We mentioned we met BJ for the first time out here. I met for the first time out here Jake and Danielle from the Draft Mechanic podcast, which was super cool. And Damien, we'd met at last year's Dice Tower Con, a.k.a. Gator Tuba on the guild. And all together, the big group of us, with Sean, played Monikers and got our butts beat. And my team did. Sean, your team did just great. Monikers is effectively... there's another game it's similar to.
Time's Up.
Time's Up. It's similar to Time's Up, which I hadn't played before. Effectively, you have a bunch of cards with identities, names. You're trying to describe them using words that aren't on the card. Your team has to try and guess. In future rounds, you get just one word to describe that card. And then the final round, you don't get any words. You just have to kind of mime out things.
Right.
And you're trying to guess things as quickly as possible. Within, I think you get a minute per round.
Yeah, and trying to score as many cards as possible. And so the cool thing is that after the first round, you know all the answers. Or at least you hope you remember all the answers, and so that's why it gets harder and harder, because now you're just trying to see if you can remember which words. Now, the difference, I guess, with the Monikers is that some of the words are a little bit quirkier than you'd find in Time's Up. Like, for example, there was both Chun-Li and E. Honda from Street Fighter.
And there was Jackson Galaxy, the Cat Whisperer.
Okay.
Yep.
What's that from? Is that a thing?
It's an Animal Planet show or one of those shows. Discovery, maybe?
Okay.
It's like the Dog Whisperer, but for cats.
Yeah. All right. Well.
See?
So anyway, so Monikers a little bit quirkier in that sense, but a very fun party game. I had a good time with that. I enjoy Time's Up, so I figured I would enjoy Monikers too.
And then right after that, we got in a quick round of Rhino Hero Super Battle, which is upcoming. Adds a little bit of Rhino Hero is that dexterity game where you're trying to build stacks and climb your Rhino as high as possible. I'm not good at Jenga style dexterity because my fine motor control is very, very poor.
Abysmal.
What I found with this one, oddly enough, was the couple of times I'd seen it demoed, we played through 2 rounds. The game ended up going fairly quickly because the thing collapsed so fast. So I don't know if it was just we had terrible players or what happened. Yeah, Suzanne's nodding her head vigorously. Likely the case. I had never played the base Rhino Hero. Effectively, you're rolling dice to climb. The cards you're playing have certain things like monkeys on them to add to the stack. It worked out well enough. I don't know if it's one I'd look to pick up, especially given another dexterity game we'll discuss in a little while that I strictly prefer for dexterity.
Foreshadowing. So another Renegade game. By the way, Renegade had a ton of titles available here, a ton of new titles available here, and I think they're well, obviously we're reviewing one of them, but they're really hitting these games out of the park. So we got to play Sentient. You picked up a copy, Suzanne.
Right, I was lucky because they sold out in like 45 minutes. All their copies of Sentient were gone.
Is this a Klein Kenko design too?
No, Sentient is J. Alex Cavern.
Oh, J. Alex Cavern,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah, but it almost feels like a Klenko design.
Okay.
And there's, kind of like Flatline and Fuse, and that you're manipulating dice. And anyway, stop it. All right. So, in Sentient, it's this futuristic game with beautiful art. There's different types of robots that you are trying to collect. And you're doing a Rochester-style draft, and you're drafting them to put in your tableau every round. It's 3 rounds, and you have 4 spots in your tableau. You're putting these between these 5 dice. So 5 different colored dice. You roll them, you set them, you put them in place, and at the end of a round, you're going to score these cards if the dice are meeting certain requirements. So, like for example, it might say that the dice on the left needs to be less than the dice on the right of this particular card. But then the next spot over might say that the dice on the left and the dice on the right need to be equal, or add them up and they have to equal an odd number, something like that. All right, well, that sounds easy enough, except that when you put these cards in, there may or may not be these modifiers that change the dice either up, down, or sometimes they'll just stay the same. So you have to really think about that. You have some ways to kind of mitigate that. You have these resources called assistants that you can use, but the problem is you also want those assistants to go out into the bidding area or the drafting area, because at the end of a round, there's an area control element where you basically will get these investors, which will give you some set multiplier for the end game scoring for the different robot cards you've collected. So many different considerations here. How you're spending those resources, either to keep your dice where you want them to be or to bid on the different investors. Really mathy. I mean, super mathy game. Very puzzly. I I enjoyed this a lot. I thought it was fantastic.
I love it too. I learned it Wednesday, I guess, and then I bought a copy, and then I learned it on Wednesday, and then I proceeded to teach it like 3 different times. And like I wasn't even using my copy. I'd take, like, people would go back to the booth, and I would use the copy that they all had set up. And it is mathy, but not in a complicated way. I mean, the math is very simple. You're only adding up and subtracting so many numbers, and you have. I said earlier it was just the right amount of burn. It was just enough heat on my brain that I felt like I was engaged and challenged, but not so much that it hurt or the game dragged out. The game feels very quick, very snappy, but it has that depth. It has a little bit to chew on, and it's really rewarding. And it has just enough player interaction where you're using these assistants and these agents to get those markers, those investors for that set collection stuff, to give you points for that set collection, that just enough kind of push and pull of like area control essentially against your opponents to keep it even engaging, like with your opponent. So got a lot going for it. I've already played it like 5 or 6 times at this convention alone, and I'm not tired of it. So I think that says something about Sentient.
Absolutely.
I was a big fan of this one too, that combination of trying to get those little chevrons to increase your endgame scoring, which Suzanne, you ended up getting just by me on that one, using those chevrons as endgame scoring. But also that manipulation, you can take a few different strategies. You can try and make sure your board is perfect and get the most points you can there. You can try and go for as many chevrons as you can up on the main board. One of those, if you're on your board itself, would require keeping your assistants back, your little gear guys, your small ones back. The other one, you're putting them out there for control, but you might not score many points near to you. I like this one a lot. Fairly, it doesn't look supremely complicated, and it's not, but there's enough going on here. It's simple enough rule set, good enough depth to it. I enjoyed Sentient. I got that one in the next day. One of the games Suzanne taught. So, yeah, that's Sentient.
So we also got to play one of the Spiel des Jahres nominees that we hadn't previously played, Magic Maze. This was really cool. It is cooperative, although I think are there any other modes to it, or is it just
I think it's pure cooperative.
So it's cooperative, it's timed, and everyone has some ability. It's either move one of these 4 pawns on the board one direction. So like I might be in charge of up, and then Suze, you're in charge of left, Alex, you're in charge of right, etc. And we have to be silent though. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get these certain colored pawns. Again, these are controlled by all of us. We're not an individual pawn. We get them to certain spots on the board that match their color, that let them reveal the next room tile. And we're continuing to do that until we have these specific spots for the different colored pawns that basically, once they're all there, we've unlocked this mall. Because we're these fantasy characters in a mall. It's kind of a weird thing, but it's kind of cool. And once we've unlocked all of the color-specific areas, then we need to all escape before the time runs out. And it uses a little sand timer, and as that sand timer is running out, we can run onto some special spots in the room, or in the different rooms, to flip the sand timer. So you can keep going. And it was really cool, because like I said, you can't talk to one another. You have to be silent, and you can't even really point or indicate. There's this little pawn that you can use where you can just kind of tap someone to be like, hey, you should be doing something.
I love that component.
I can't tell you what. It's the most passive-aggressive component in the game ever.
Yeah, you just go da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right, because you're sitting somewhere where your green pawn is right next to the spot it needs to be in, and so this person needs to move it to the right. And you're like, don't you see this? Why don't you see this? You should see this right now. Move it to the right. Move it to the right. And then you start just tapping that thing, and eventually go, oh, I should probably do that. There's teleportation. There's all sorts of stuff. This was really cool.
Really cool. And what's nice is you get a little piece of communication at the start. Once you flip a timer, you can talk a little while until you make your first move.
Strategize.
The trick is the timer's still going during that time. So you talk too long, you burned up a bunch of time.
Right.
It's a lot of fun. And I would think it would scale pretty well. It goes, I think, from 2 all the way up to 8, based on the different tiles you can have. They have different sides to them. Right. So in a 2-player game, you'll have many more abilities than in an 8-player game where you'll have basically just 1 or 2 abilities.
Yeah.
Is the gist of it. Worked really well. Now, I don't know if this is controversial at all, maybe. It plays in, by the way, scenario mode, where it increases in difficulty as you go, and you add more rules as you go. So there's ones where each player needs to have their own specific exit. There's one where there's a security camera, which I have no idea what that does because we didn't get far enough in it. Escape Zombie City Killer?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. I would have to think more about that, probably.
For me, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think I dropped Escape Zombie City down to a 3. And I think I got rid of it or was trying to get rid of it at the Gamers Garage sale. So,
in terms of that real-time category, I can't think of much I like more than that. I mean, Millennium Blades has some really cool real-time stuff to it as well, but it's not an entirely real-time game, whereas this is. I'm all about it. I think it works really well cooperatively. It may be my favorite of the spiels, of the 3 spiels. I don't know if it's my favorite to win the award, but it's my favorite game of those 3.
Well, next week we're going to kind of discuss the different nominees as our episode, which will come out the day that the nominees are actually, or the winners are announced.
Right.
So it'll be kind of interesting. We'll make predictions, and you'll immediately know if we're right or wrong.
Yes.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. So we'll save our predictions, I think, for next week.
No doubt about it. Suzanne, what are your thoughts on that one?
I really don't like cooperative games. There's a very small subset of cooperative games I like. Mysterium is an example of a cooperative game that I enjoy. Time Stories is an example of a cooperative game I enjoy. Pandemic is not an example of a cooperative game that I enjoy. And I loved Magic Maze, and I cannot wait to buy it. Like, I'm a little mildly upset I can't buy it right now. Like, I want the game. I want to play it again. I had so much fun, even though I wanted to rip off a guy's arm because he was banging that red pawn in front of me, and I could not see what he wanted me to do. That's just part of the game, and it's so... like, you can feel the tension and the stress of the group as you're trying to work together. Which I just personally really enjoyed. And keeping your eye on the board and watching that and trying to be aware of all the opportunities, trying to get people to understand what you're trying to do, it just clicked. It just fired on all cylinders for me. So I'm a big fan of Magic Maze.
And what's nice is there's not an alpha gamer problem. Everyone has to do a move at some point. Now, there can be a jerk problem where someone's just tapping nonstop, I guess. But that's also an important thing, too, because there's 4 different pawns potentially moving. You're not sure what all of your available moves are. In any case, really enjoyed that one, Magic Maze.
So the last game I'll talk about for Wednesday night was Age of Steam. I got to meet Brant and Brian from the Portal Gaming Podcast. They've got a shop up in Connecticut. They're members of the Dice Tower Network. And Brant had reached out to me. He was going to teach me Star Wars Rebellion, but then Ellie, who our buddy used to be from Florida, now he's living in Phoenix, he came out to Albuquerque not too long ago, and we got to play that. So he said, hey, what about Age of Steam? I know you want to learn Age of Steam. And I said, yeah, let's do that. So this is a Martin Wallace route building, there's some stock portion to it as well. And you're just trying to get certain goods from one type of city to, certain types of goods to certain destination cities that match. And the more connections you can make, the more income you're going to get, more money you have to play with to build new route networks and whatnot. It was good. It was good. I felt like I would have rather have played an 18xx game, which I think might speak to my taste and preferred weight and for that style of game. I'm enjoying route building, which is something that I haven't enjoyed in the past. I'm definitely interested in playing Age of Steam again. Age of Steam, there we go, again. And I know there are other maps available and things like that. So definitely interested in trying more of it. So that's Age of Steam. And you might like it, Alex.
Would I?
Yeah, you like route building.
Have I played Age of Steam?
No. Well, maybe you have. Have you played it?
Maybe.
It would have been at Empire with like Matt. And maybe Matthew.
Possibly.
Okay.
I might have played this.
All right.
I can't remember.
Well, great.
Anyway.
Great.
Last one I'll talk about for that day was Ethnos. I finally got in a play of Ethnos. This is Simon. What's the huh?
No, go on. Go on.
What's the huh?
No, go on.
No, come on.
Interesting. But go on.
Oh, no. As in, Sean doesn't like this game. Which is weird because I was under the impression you did like this game, but I think I just forgot that you don't like this game.
Okay.
Anyway.
I don't dislike it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Excellent. But it's interesting.
It's interesting.
Which we talked about what that meant last week's episode, which is effectively, Interesting is and is... Why don't you translate, Sean? It's your language.
Why don't you tell about what your experience
Okay.
was with Ethnos?
Ethnos is a game where you're acquiring different species, it's an area control game where you're grabbing cards, either that are face up in front of you or blind off the top of the deck, and then on subsequent turns playing them out to the board in groups. Each group has a different ability. So, for instance, the fairies might let you swap stacks with someone else. The centaurs let you play a second group out. The trick is any cards you don't play from hand when you're playing out to the board immediately go face up for other players to take. So you want to set it up so you're either comboing or you're getting everything out of your hand whenever possible. And it's good. There's a lot going on. I tend to like these more simple mechanical ones. I like that there's different factions you can mix in, a.k.a. Elysium, where different games are going to feel different. I can see what you're talking about top decking being too big of an issue with this one, perhaps. For me, it's less of a factor, but I get why in that kind of game you'd want a little more control over your options. In any case, I enjoyed it well enough. I don't know if it'll sour on future plays, but I liked Ethnos. Suzanne, have you played Ethnos?
I have.
Did you like it?
In my play of Ethnos, I was wrapped into, and maybe we had the wrong character set. I like that element of the game. But I was in a game where I drew a card, couldn't do anything. Drew another 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 card, couldn't do anything. And I found that very unrewarding. And combine that with some issues I have with the graphic design on the board, it just did not fire for me. I definitely am open to playing it again, especially with different sets of cards to see if that impacts how it plays for me. A lot of my friends that I typically align with and their taste in games really like Ethnos, which is what kind of means maybe I missed something in my play of it. But right now, for me, it's a pass.
Fair enough.
Strong pass.
Strong pass from Suzanne.
No, from Sean.
And Sean.
I think just a regular pass from Suzanne.
Or if we were playing Terraforming Mars, hard pass.
Hard pass.
Hard pass. All right, let's talk Friday games, Thursday games.
How about Thursday first?
Thursday first.
Just, let's go chronologically, I mean.
Wait, I'm sorry. What's the order of the days of the week again?
Well...
Oh, Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah. Okay.
Thursday. So, Alex, you've got a story that you want to tell.
Do I?
I think you do. I'll tee you up.
That was Friday.
I will tee you up. Was it Friday?
That was Friday morning.
Oh, it was. I have a... Okay. Well, I'll still...
You'll tee me up for later.
I'll set this story up. Basically, we got to play a demo of Werewords
on Thursday.
Over at the Bezier Games booth.
Yep.
And this game is Werewolf, right? Where you are trying to figure out who the werewolf is, or it's more like One Night.
Much
werewolf,
more like, yeah, I would say.
Except that there's also a word game here where the mayor knows a word, and they're answering yes/no questions, kind of like 20 questions from the villagers from the town, trying to guess what the word is. The werewolves also know what the word is, and if there's a seer, the seer will also know. And so everyone's guessing. The werewolves are trying to figure out who the seer might be, because if the town guesses the word correctly, the werewolves can still win by guessing who the seer is. Maybe someone who was helping, or whose clues or questions were just a little bit too good for them to know otherwise.
What adds an interesting twist to this, though, is the mayor will have multiple roles. So the mayor can be a villager, someone who would typically not know the word. The mayor could also be the seer, or the mayor could be a werewolf. In other words, the mayor who gives out the answers could be the one who's effectively trying to mislead and make sure folks don't get it all right. Mayor Werewolf. Or Mayor Wolf, as you might call him.
Sure.
Or her. This one was...
Ooh, there's a magic card that's a werewolf mayor.
Is there really?
Yeah, Mayor of Avabrook.
Who's a werewolf?
Card, they transform.
Oh, interesting.
It was from Innistrad.
Yeah, this is a game that's ugly as sin and fun as heck.
Okay.
Werewords.
Yeah.
Sean, you insta-bought it. Your friend Ellie insta-bought it after we demoed it.
Yep.
And I considered buying it, but I didn't.
But you don't buy games?
No, not often.
Okay, well, let's just...
I haven't bought a single game this con.
Shocker. For this purpose only, let's jump ahead to Friday so you can tell your story. I mean, it'll make more sense here.
So Friday morning, Sean is dragging because Sean was up way too late. What were you playing the night before? We'll maybe talk more about the play, but you were playing something late into the night.
I was playing Lisboa, I think. Yeah. Playing Lisboa.
Lisboa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Late into the night. Sean was up late, and he was a tired guy. He was a tired guy because you had another play that you woke up early for that next day. some other game that you played on Friday. He's flipping through his list. Wait for it.
Which was PAX Renaissance.
There we go. So Sean wakes up early, plays PAX Renaissance, and then afterwards, right before he goes off to bed, he gets roped into, play a couple rounds of Werewords.
For a nap. For a nap.
Yes. Hey, let's play a couple rounds of Werewords. Okay. Sean is the mayor on this round.
Yeah.
The word is Cheerios.
And by the way, we're playing with Roy Kennedy from Epic Gaming 9 Podcast. We're playing with Crystal and Ambi from Board Game Blitz. It was a group of about 9 of us, I think.
Yeah, nine at the table.
Yeah.
A pretty solid group for sure. Sean, the word was Cheerios.
It sure was.
I knew this because I was a werewolf.
Yep.
And we got some confusing answers from Sean during the round, and I knew he wasn't a werewolf, but some odd ones. It was something like, is it made of corn? Would you have this later in the day? Yes. Well, that's interesting. That's not typically what I'd associate with Cheerios. Huh. We get to the end of the round, and it reveals what the word is for everyone. So everyone sees what it is and sees whether the mayor maybe has been misleading people. Now, before Sean had noticed what the word was, the fingers were all pointed at me. Because I'd asked enough dumb questions to try and drain. You have a limited number of questions you have. So if you ask dumb questions, not a good thing. And I'd done that enough times where I'd drawn some suspicion. Sean immediately erased all of that suspicion on me when it was revealed that the actual, that the word was Cheerios. Sean thought it was Cheetos.
I misread.
Whoops.
I misread it.
And in misreading it, led everyone down a wrong path and immediately was like, nope, werewolf, werewolf, werewolf. And everyone voted for him, even though if they'd known exactly how tired he was, they might not have done
Right. I feel like if I were a werewolf mayor, I would be a little more subtle than just completely getting the wrong word. But anyway.
That was our Pimento 3 of this con. Pimento 3, for those who don't know, a couple years ago, we were playing Codenames. There was 3 words left on the board. Suzanne, not realizing that the other team was about to win on their next turn, to get her team to guess olives, said Pimento 1.
Yep, had to be there.
Had to be there. And then realized it was Pimento 3. You should say Pimento 3, which also made no sense because the other clues didn't work with that. Anyway, I've explained the entire story. This is another one that was sort of better in the moment, had to be there.
Yeah.
And I'd say the Richard Borg story we told last year was our Pimento 3 moment of that con because it was better in the moment, where Sean was talking down some of the Battle Lore games, Command Colors Ancients.
No, I wasn't talking to No, I was haggling.
You were haggling with Richard Borg over his own games without realizing it was Richard Borg.
Which I did again today in the flea market, but...
With Richard Borg?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Excellent. Well, you knew it was him this time.
Yeah, I knew it was him.
Okay, well, that's a little different. Any case...
well, haggling down, and then you were like, hey, why don't you give this guy our card? And I'm like, well,
You're like, who's this guy? The vendor? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, look at his name tag, dummy. I'm like, oh, that's Richard Borg.
Also in the category, that's the definition of a Pimento 3 story. You had to be there, and it was funnier.
I'm glad we just told 3 different Pimento 3 stories.
All in once.
All of them, you
If
had to be
anyone's
there.
still listening, I'm shocked. The next round, by the way, was a lot of fun because I was Mayor Werewolf, and the word was Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And Sean was also a werewolf.
We were
Team
werewolf.
Duke's Werewolves. And because it was Notre Dame, the university
Were-Dukes.
or the cathedral would have applied in that situation. Any case, I like werewolves. Suzanne, have you played that one just yet?
We won. We won. Did you say we won?
Yeah, we won. Oh, yeah, we won as Team
Were-Dukes.
Were-Dukes.
I redeemed myself.
Yes. They ran out of time because I had given them, is it in North America? Maybe. Which was true, right?
Yeah.
But it led them down a different path than they might have wanted to go down. Any case. Suzanne, you played this one, yes?
Yeah, I got to play it at Gamma a number of months ago, and I had a really good time playing it. It shares some similarities to a game called Insider by Oinky Games that I also own, which is a little harder to get in the U.S., so it's completely understandable if not a lot of people have played it. But they share some similarities. They've got a few differences. I like them both, so I'm glad you guys enjoyed Werewords.
All right, let's go back to Thursday proper. Since we kind of were jumping around.
Yeah, way to go, Sean.
We were playing a little anachrony, just time traveling back and forth. Or Bill and Ted's. Anyway,
excellent.
Go on, Alex.
Go on? All right. Game I got in pretty early on Thursday, pretty close to right after we demoed Werewords. We walked right over to the North Star booth, and, oh, hey, this looks interesting. It's Wits and Wagers Vegas, which looks really cool on the table. Really cool. Why am I getting a stare down?
I'm just waiting for you to talk.
Oh, okay.
Just
but it was like a look-like. What is he on about?
No, go on.
Yeah, Sean's
you were
sleepy.
too self-conscious right now.
Okay, that happens sometimes. So with Wits and Wagers Vegas, it's typical Wits and Wagers. Oh, he's wrapping me
No,
up.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, way to go, Sean.
Go on. This is terrible radio. Go on.
It's typical Wits and Wagers with the cards arranged out as they're ranked, but you now have betting. And so as you place out the chips, you can make a field bet on a couple of answers at once. You can make a long shot bet before even the answers are flipped over and revealed. And it's super cool. I think a lot of people just seeing this as a component, seeing that component of the Vegas mat, were super into it. I was as well. I haven't played Wits and Wagers in a very long time. This will get me to play it more, I think. And even Max, who I played with later in the con, was skeptical of Wits and Wagers. I'm not a big Wits and Wagers fan. I don't like playing it. He saw that mat. He's now going to back that thing on Kickstarter.
Cool.
It's going to be on Kickstarter in August sometime. So, yeah, super cool. Wits and Wagers Vegas. Sean, I know you dug that one too.
Well, I didn't play it yet.
What? You haven't played it yet?
I didn't play it yet.
Oh, you weren't with us in the demo. That's right.
No.
Never mind. Sean,
Now
I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Now I'm giving you a look.
Well, that's fair.
Well, and we have a copy. We have an advanced copy of it, right?
We sure do, which I'm sure we'll be getting some plays in of. And you may hear more about it on the show at some point. So, yeah, that's Wits and Wagers Vegas. Suze, anything you want to talk about from Thursday?
Well, yeah, I got to teach you a game, an older game that I quite enjoy. I'm lucky enough to own a copy of, and it's unfortunately out of print. But I love to teach people it whenever I can to see if more people start talking about it, so we could get Pegasus. Oh my goodness, Pegasus Spiel.
There you go.
To do it. Thank you. To get a reprint of it going on, and that's
Boo! Sorry.
what.
Call back. I don't know. It doesn't make any
Oh my
sense.
God, I'm gonna cry.
I'm really tired.
It's a good game.
Boo!
What?
No, I don't know. I'm just kidding.
It's a game called Forense. So Forense is a game where you are collecting a bunch of these bricks to build up different towers, and you trade in a certain number of green bricks to build the number 5 green tower, and then you get to mark it off, and you get a certain number of points. To get these bricks, they are seated randomly on this market of cards, and you take a card and you get the bricks on it as well. But these cards do a huge variety of things, and some of them are nice and some of them are mean. You can use some of them immediately, some of them get stored in a hand and things like that. So maybe you trade a brick with an opponent, whether they want to or not. Maybe you get to take another card down the market line for free later on in the game and things like that. So you just go back and forth collecting these bricks, playing the actions on the cards, building up these towers. That's really all there is to the game. But I think that simplicity of it mechanically just makes it flow beautifully. It's engaging. It has that light player interaction. So Forense is a game I love spreading the word about. Alex, I'm interested to know what you thought of it. This isn't necessarily always your favorite type of game.
It isn't, but I think you're right that the rule set is simple enough with this. Effectively, on your turn, you're doing a couple of things. You're picking a card, and you're building towers. There might be some action cards you have in hand that modify that, but that's effectively it. And it has a couple of other cool mechanics. The mechanic I liked is there are cards that aren't just bad in the sense, the way that most people would think about it is, if there's a bad card out there, it's a card, I could do something bad to someone else. But in some cases of these cards, it's something bad that happens to you. A storehouse fire, some of your tower collapses a little bit. Something bad happens as a result of this card. But maybe enough bricks get stacked up on this card to where all of a sudden that's pretty attractive. Additionally, you get this mechanic of you have to add to a tower every round or else it falls down. You don't want it to fall down. You've lost all your progress because building these towers above a certain limit gets expensive fast, very fast. And so this idea of I have to continue building this yellow tower. If I go too far, someone else might claim it ahead of me, or there might not be the spaces available, or there might not be the bricks available to continue, and I'm just going to have to give up on this one. Not to mention you have the area control of the scrolls in these certain areas. All of it combines together and works really well, and it gels. I think you're right that it's simple enough mechanically. I hope this comes back out into circulation. It's well worth playing. Sean, I actually think you're really going to like this one, too, if you get a chance to play it. If it didn't say.
Yeah. No, I've heard good things.
Solid. Really good game. Thanks to Suzanne for bringing it to my attention, as she does a lot of things. Yay!
Well, that's the difference, right? I try and get you to play a game, and I'm dragging you kicking and screaming. But Suzanne's like, hey!
Here's the difference. You know what the difference is? She actually takes my tastes into consideration.
I'm trying to take the tastes of our listeners into consideration.
Oh,
Alex.
okay. Oh, I see. Hey, my 15% loves what I play. The 15% Duke Alex fans.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, the last game that I'll talk about for Thursday was Lisboa. This is a Vital Lacerda game, and listener Joshua Costa, he picked up his Kickstarter copy at Origins. I've got a copy on the way. Very excited for that because it was an awesome game. I really enjoyed it. But Joshua said, hey, love to teach you. And I'm like, absolutely, let's do this. Lisboa is beautiful. It is a beautiful game. The board is all these different like muted pastel colors. Alex, you'll say it's busy.
Probably.
You'll say the board is busy.
I've glanced it.
And
sounds right.
And you'll say it's too interconnected.
It's Lacerda.
Yeah. That's what you'll say. But you're wrong, and that's fine. Your future self is wrong.
No, I'm saying that now.
Well, you haven't seen
Probably.
it.
I've glanced it, as I was saying.
All right.
It looked busy.
So he tossed the game, and basically you are trying to rebuild Lisboa, which was destroyed by earthquake and flood and fire. There's all this rubble out. Although when I say rubble, I just mean little Euro cubes, wooden cubes of different colors, and this different damage. You're gonna have to pay at certain points in the game to remove it, and you're getting some credit for basically the more rubble you remove, the better. There are a bunch of different actions that you're taking. You can either so the main mechanic in the game is card play, and you can either tuck cards. By the way, multi-use card play, because you can either tuck cards above your tableau or your player board, I guess, or below your player board, and you'll get certain bonuses when you do that. You'll also then be able to take certain types of actions, either shipping goods or trading with the nobles to get these kind of lesser actions. So then there's another action you take by playing one of the cards out to one of the personalities. There's either the king, the Marquis, or the builder, and that's going to let you do different things. Now, just like a typical Lacerda game, there are so many different interconnected pieces here. Not going to go into great detail how the game is played, but what I will say is that this seemed like a refinement of his other games. I think that, as he's creating more and more games, there's still that high level of interconnectedness, that high level of just everything has to do with one another, and everything you do over here affects what you do over here. I think that this was streamline's not the right word, but like I said, refined, and it was just fantastic. So this is now my fourth Lacerda game. Before, I think Gallerus was my favorite. Venus is excellent. Kanban I enjoy for the most part, but this is really good. I'm very excited for more plays of Lisboa. So
Sweet. I got in something a little later than that, late night at Dice Tower Con on Thursday, and that was a little game called, Sean, ready? Word.
Slam!
There we go. Nice job.
Thank you.
So this was designed by Inca and Marcus Brand, released by Cosmos, and it's the closest I've had to Happy Sam in this con, I think, in that effectively you have one player who... You have players going head-to-head, two teams, a la Codenames, but not at all like Codenames game-wise, where you have a secret word, and both players are trying to guess, the clue givers are trying to get the players on their team to guess their word by putting words up on the tile rack. So it might be something like love on man or something like that. Would be, I don't know.
Interesting. That's where you went.
I'm tired. Suzanne is dying.
Anyway,
yep, just going by that.
To quote Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with that.
That's right. Oh, I'm way off track here. You're trying to get people to guess what the word is through communicating with those cards and only those cards. Sort of like Mysterium, but you're using word cards instead of abstract art, and there's teams competing against each other. That's a much more complicated explanation of a very simple game.
Yep.
And had a lot of fun. My favorite moment of playing Word Slam, it was a hard card, was Pyramid.
Ugh.
Sean, you were on my team, and you're upset about
and
this.
I was trying to tell you couldn't do it, but go on.
But I can do it. We determined through the rules I can legally do what I did. For Pyramid, Suzanne, I took 3 cards, put them in a row. Then I put 2 cards covering those 2, and then I put 1 in front of those other ones. Now, what you're not allowed to do, as we looked in the rulebook, is cover up letters so that it spells out a word by covering up letters or part of a word. I wasn't doing that. There's no pyramid on there. I was just building a pyramid. And we got it super fast. Yeah, take that, Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Suze, you're a big fan of this one?
Yes. I lost track of which game it was for a second.
Word Slam.
I was so disturbed by Love on Man. Yeah, I was looking at my play tracker and I played Word Slam like I basically stopped tracking it because I was playing it again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's just one of those games, there's some kind of way to score it and have points, and you don't care a single bit about that because you just play it. It's like concept. You just play it until you're tired of playing it, and it's so much fun.
Yeah.
It is a great convention game. I thought it was more fun the more people played. People were dropping in and dropping out of the game, per round. It's so quick and fun. It's very clever. It's very cerebral in the way kind of like you metagamed it with the way you were stacking the cards for the pyramid. Personally, I really, really enjoyed my time. I think Inka and Marcus Brand are incredibly talented game designers. And like Vlada with Codenames, it's fun to see what Inka and Marcus do with a different format or a different genre of game. And Word Slam is a hit for me.
Very cool.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
We tried another one another night called Imagine, which you tended to like a little better, Sean. This was the clear transparent cards.
Yeah, this is from Game Right. Jake and Danielle from Draft Mechanic, they showed it to us. And basically it's a bunch of images on those clear transparent cards like Gloom, and you have to kind of overlap them and to get across some idea, some object or whatever. I enjoyed that a lot more. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a little bit more creative. One's visual, one's, linguistic. So, but yeah. I preferred Imagine from Game Right.
Last one I'll talk about from Thursday was one that BJ from Board Game Gumbo ran me through with the Stronghold folks. He was here demoing some stuff with Stronghold. Just after the booth had closed, a game called Not Alone. It's a one versus many game where you have an alien and you have a number of players trying to survive on this planet. You survive each round by going to different locations and doing the ability of that location. The monster's trying to hunt you down by catching you at that specific location. Those are effectively the mechanics. You have survival cards that you use to try and make your chances better. The monster has cards they use to try and either increase their options or narrow the options for other players. A lot of fun. Liked this one a lot. Wasn't sure if Sean was going to like it so much. Sean, you were meh on it?
It's fine. It's good. I'll play it again.
That's a Sean's version of a 3.
It's probably a 3.
But maybe a 4 if Sean's playing as the monster, which you weren't in this.
No, I wasn't, but I don't know. It's fine. It's a good game.
I enjoyed it a lot. And I like the components of it, I like the art of it, and I liked it.
Worth checking out.
I think so.
Checking out.
Definitely. So that's Not Alone. One last thing I'll talk about from Thursday. As I was wandering by, I was on a bit of a sticker hunt for a while, and then I just gave up on that because it wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to get enough stickers.
But by the way,
stickers. Yeah, you get a little card. If you go to an exhibitor and have some sort of meaningful interaction, or they just feel like giving you a sticker, they'll give you a sticker that you can put on a card. You submit the card and enter into a drawing for Dice Tower tickets for next year and $50 from Cool Stuff. But I think there's 20 to 30 somewhere in that ballpark of exhibitors to gather. And at a certain point, I just gave up. I was still on that hunt though this day. Swung by Formal Ferret Games, and this is one I tried at BGG Con, Wardsy. And I played against Gil Hova. And what evened the score a little bit was Gil was very tired and burned out from a bunch of con stuff all that day and was distracted helping other people buy games and all that sort of stuff. And as a result, I did respectably well at Wardsy, which I did not last time I played it, and only lost to Gil by 7 points, despite all of his various handicaps. So, yeah, that's Wardsy. Gil's a great guy, by the way. We bumped into him also at a hangout that Stronghold Games, Stephen Bonacore was hosting. Or no, it wasn't Bonacore officially, but it was
Board Games Insider.
Thank you very much.
Stephen Bonacore and Ignacy Trzewiczek.
Yeah, but had a good long chat with him. He's really enjoying the time on Ludology, and I think he's doing a great job so far.
No, he absolutely is.
So yeah, got a little nice fun interaction there with Gil Hova.
Very cool. All right, well, moving on to Friday. Friday night we had the Dice Tower Awards, and all of those winners have been announced. And I guess do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, a little bit about what won, what didn't win, what surprised us. And there were some surprises this year, for sure.
Yeah.
Mainly surrounding one game in particular.
Well, at least for us. I mean, so Captain Sonar, a game that I think is just fantastic.
It's great.
It is the bee's knees of team cooperative real-time games, right?
Yes.
I really enjoyed Space Cadets Dice Duels, but this kind of killed that for me.
Yeah.
Because it has the tension and the stress, but not the frantic dice rolling.
Right.
Which just was
you
too
still
much.
feel in control, even though
Yeah.
you feel like you're doing things urgently.
So it won 3 awards.
One of which I could see it winning.
Okay, it won most thematic.
That, fine.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, you are role playing kind of this crew of a submarine. Okay, cool. It also won most innovative,
Yeah.
and that one kind of bugged me because to me it's not that innovative. It is very similar in a lot of ways to Space Cadets Dice Duel. There are things that it obviously does different. It's not just a complete ripoff of it in any way, shape, or form, but it didn't seem that innovative to me. Up against a game like Millennium Blades,
Yes.
which I think, just objectively speaking,
Feels like nothing else.
to me was the most innovative by a mile, by an absolute mile.
And then you have even Mystic Veil I could have seen with that card crafting
Sure.
system. I would have been fine with that.
I would have put that over it
Captain
too.
Sonar, I was a little shocked by it for that category. And it took down Happy Salmon, Sean.
It did. So it won party game, which I don't think of this as a party game either.
Yeah.
So
Susan's shaking her head too. Suze, were you surprised by all the Captain Sonar love?
I really was, to be honest, and I think I get what you guys are saying about both innovative and party game. Like I don't consider Captain Sonar a party game for a variety of reasons. First of all, I feel like Captain Sonar only plays well at 6 or 8 people exactly. And I feel like that party games are usually a little more flexible in their
Sure.
player count. And from an innovation point of view, I see what you're saying as far as like Dice Duel or, Battleship as an inspiration game
Sure.
and things like that. So I can understand that. I mean, I do think that it feels different. It has a different feel than maybe some of these other games. But on the other hand, I'm really glad it won because I personally am a fan of the game. So I'm glad that it got some love and was recognized by the community. And ultimately, I look at the way the Dice Tower Awards are done and calculated, and because there are a lot of people involved, and because the way you rank these games are all numerically based and things like that. Ultimately, I got to go with it. I may personally disagree in the categories, but I feel like the nominees overall were really, really strong, and and I like Captain Sonar, so I'm glad that it was recognized, I guess.
Yeah. The other one, not a surprise, but we thought most strategy game would be predictive of who would win Best Game of the Year.
right.
And in this case, it was not. Terraforming Mars won Best Strategy Game, while Scythe took home Game of the Year. Now, neither of those is a surprise in that category. The split was interesting to me.
Right. So Terraforming Mars. Well, okay. All of the strategy games that were nominated were also nominated for Game of the Year.
Right.
And so Terraforming Mars won, and right when that was announced, I turned to you and said, "Oh, well, there's Game of the Year right there." And I
thought so too.
Yeah, and I was incorrect. It also won best game by a new designer,
Right.
Jacob Frixelius.
And Best Artwork also went to Scythe.
Best art, which is the award that you and I announced.
Indeed. And I did not replicate my mistake of making a dumb joke about pronouncing Tom Vassel's name this year.
Sure.
Well, what I did was tell Sean, I'm going to talk as little as possible. That led to Sean making up some nonsense about, he's here, he flew back just for this, and he's catching a flight to Thailand tomorrow, which was also a lie, and I had to tell you it was a lie. You liar.
You didn't have to tell me. I knew it was a lie.
I know you
and
knew.
It wasn't.
Yeah. Anyway.
I was storytelling, Alex.
Yeah. Well, you story told for sure. Anyway,
so Scythe was a game that I voted for Game of the Year.
Yes.
And I didn't think it was going to win. I really didn't. I thought it was going to be Terraforming Mars, just kind of just based on what I knew about everyone voting and things that people kind of
and the
talked
field
about.
to con, you do see Terraforming Mars at the table more than you see Scythe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I have played Terraforming Mars this con. I have not played Scythe. Not whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right when you said it may have been that the votes were more split because there are more nominees for Game of the Year. So, but yeah, no, I was happy to see Scythe take that and Terraforming Mars take Best Strategy Game. Overall, I think I was fairly happy with the award results for everything except for innovative.
Okay. and party game. Both of those kind of
Well,
like me.
no.
Anyway. So yeah, that was the Dice Tower Awards. Earlier in the day, I got in a game of Pyramid Poker. Have you played this one, Sean?
I have not, but I really want to.
Yeah, and it's simple enough. It plays in about 5 minutes. Super easy. And I think you, as a poker fan, will like it. Also, as a Seven Wonders Duel fan, you'll like it. And that's actually not a foreshadow. I enjoy it, but it does have that Seven Wonders Duel-esque element of, as you pull tiles, you're opening up options for other people. And sometimes you're forced to open up options you don't want to open up. What you're doing in this game is you're building a stack of pyramid tiles, 15 high. You know what the cards you played are. They basically represent cards in a deck. So they'll have the number and suit that you would typically have. You know what yours are. You don't know what your opponent's playing. And then in turn order, you pull down the pyramid and add them to hands, hand of cards, and you play heads up with those hands. So you're trying to win 2 out of 3 hands. Best poker hand wins in each of those. That's the game. It doesn't take that long to play. Looks cool on the table. Enjoyed it. Was simple enough. I don't know. It may wear out for me with time. I enjoyed the initial play of it I got, though. Initial couple plays I got. So, Sean, one you want to try out. Suze, you were shaking your head. You like this one?
I really do. It's such a great, lightning fast 2-player game. A little silly. More thoughtfulness in the gameplay than you may first think, as far as the order in which you're stacking the random tiles that you get into this pyramid, the order that you then take a risk on taking a blind tile, and things like that. So Pyramid Poker, and it's not, I don't know the cost of the game, but I remember looking at the price and going, whoa, that's really inexpensive. You get all these wooden blocks, you have this super great little fast 2-player game, and my understanding is that they actually have rules to come out for 3 and 4 players that will use the components in the same box, so it's just an additional thing. So Pyramid Poker was a little bit of a surprise to me. It's a little silly, a little surprisingly strategic and thoughtful in its gameplay, lightning fast, and it's a hit for me for sure.
And yeah, you were talking about dirt cheap. I think R&R was selling it for $20 at the con.
I think that's retail, yeah.
Which, given the components you're getting, nice wood blocks, nice stackable, simple enough. They also had something where if you paid $1 for one of their buttons, you could roll 2 dice, and effectively you roll 2 6s on it. They're not actually 6s, they're pigs, but whatever. You win one of their games $30 or less. So I tried to win it, and I got one of the 6s, and not the other. Anyway, close to getting a free copy of Pyramid Poker. Would have been cool. Yep. Anyway, Sean, what else did you get in on Friday?
So I'll just talk about one more game for Friday, and it was Combat Commander Mediterranean. So our buddy Rory from Empire Board Game Library was here, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to sign us up for Combat Commander. Do you want to do that? Learn it? Someone's going to run us through, teach us the game. Cool." So we went there Friday at 1. With Patrick Pence, and he knows this game inside and out. He owns everything for it. We played Mediterraneans. We had a special scenario, well, not special, but a scenario where we were the Greeks fighting against the Germans, and it was actually 3-on-3, which is by no means the way you typically play Combat Commander, but just for teaching the game and walking us through, it was fine. It was a good way to play. Kind of got to discuss some strategy and things like that. So this is a GMT game, and it is a tactical war game, something we don't typically talk about here on the show. And it uses it's a card-driven game. You are drawing these cards from your deck, and these cards represent your dice rolls. They represent orders that you can do on your turn. They represent like kind of reactions that you're able to do on your opponent's turn or when certain situations arise. And it was excellent. It was really, really excellent. I picked up Combat Commander Europe last year in the Cool Stuff Inc.'s Ding and Dent sale. Had not played it. I'd read the rules. I'd organized all the chits. Alex, you would love this because it has just a bunch of chits.
Yep.
And bland.
And that beautiful GMT look. Yep.
Yeah.
War game. Boy, that checks all the boxes, doesn't it?
Sure does, Alex. You would love this. I had a fantastic time. Played with Rory, played with Ellie. They both loved it.
Game of the con?
Well, I figured we talk about it at the end of the episode.
Oh, okay.
Let's hold on for that.
But was it?
But I'll just say this. I mean, if there's an opportunity for me to play it today, Saturday, I'm making that happen. I'm just saying. And Rory and I are scheduled to play it next weekend on Sunday morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was excellent.
And not for me.
Nope.
No, indeed.
I don't know because it's really...
you know.
No, look.
Wait a minute.
Look.
Wait, hold up.
Look.
Really?
Look. Look, it is not that complex a rule set. There's a lot of charts you got to refer to.
Oh.
There's you like battle lore, right?
I did like battle lore.
You like the commands and colors system.
I did.
This is a step up in complexity from that. Just a single step. Just a single step.
Is it a big step?
No. It's not. There is a chance. I mean, you're not going to be impressed by the components. You're not going to be impressed by the chits. But there is a chance that you might enjoy the gameplay. You're not going to become some sort of combat commander fiend, but you might like it.
Okay.
I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not rushing out to teach you this game.
I didn't think so.
Okay, but you could if you could just open your mind, Alex. To
my heart
to the possibilities.
Open my heart.
Yeah.
No. Not at the moment.
Okay.
And part of that might be because it's Saturday and I'm pretty tired.
All right.
I'm more tired than I was at the start of this podcast.
That makes sense. You've been awake longer. So.
True, and had less food.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
So that's
I'm a hungry boy.
That's Combat Commander Mediterranean. Love on Man. Go on.
Hey, you've said some dumb stuff too at some point.
I think that's just a punctuation issue. It's all about where you put a comma. Love on, man.
Okay, fair enough.
Love on.
That's totally what you were thinking the first time.
Unfortunately, that wasn't how I said it, but I love that Suze had a good defense for me because I definitely didn't have one for myself.
Yeah.
Hooray for that.
A panda walks into a bar, eats, shoots, and leaves.
Yeah, okay. Nice King of Tokyo reference, sir.
What?
It's one of the abilities in King of Tokyo.
Yeah, but there's a book called Eat, Shoots, and Leaves.
Whatever.
And it's all about the importance of punctuation.
This is a board game podcast.
Yeah, but that's what it was referring to.
All right,
the
fine.
book Eat, Shoots, and Leaves.
All right. Good for you. Anyway, one other one I'll talk about from yesterday was one Susan and I got in together, and we were talking about Spiel-nominated games. How about a Kenner Spiel-nominated game? We got in Raiders of the North Sea. And this was a tight contest turned out between Suze and I. And for some context, Suze nipped me on a tiebreaker in Terraforming Mars at BGG-Con, was it? I think BGG-Con last year. This one came down to a tiebreaker as well, 49-49. And I won because I was higher on the Valkyrie track. So how this works is effectively you're taking actions on the bottom half of the board to build up your raiding party force, and then going and raiding settlements and posts and monasteries on the upper part of the board, the upper half of the board. You're going to get some rewards as a result of that. You're going to get some cows, some livestock that'll come down. You get some gold. You get some iron that you can use. Or there are Valkyries that kill off your crew members but get you points on the Valkyrie track. And the chief mechanic of this is 1 in, 1 out. So you place a player, take the action, and then pull a different player and take the action. Sean, have you played Coldwater Crown yet?
I have not.
Okay. For anyone who's played Coldwater Crown, it's the same mechanic in Coldwater Crown, that 1 in, 1 out type of mechanic where you're taking 2 actions that way. It worked for me. This one worked for me, and there was a sort of a middle of the road at the table. I enjoyed this one. I like that 1 in, 1 out mechanic. It works really well. It can be a mean game. You can do nasty stuff to people. Susan and I did some nasty stuff to each other over the course of this game. Oh, wait a minute. Phrasing?
Are we still doing phrasing? Jeez.
I wasn't even thinking.
You are just on fire.
I'm done talking for a little while. Suzanne, how did you like Raiders of the North Sea?
Well, I think for a learner's game, I want to play it again. I really, really like that worker placement mechanism of 1 in, 1 out. I also found it very, very frustrating because it's not only 1 in, 1 out, but there are 3 different colors of workers: white, black, or gray, and they give different abilities at the same spot depending on what worker color you use, and they unlock certain spots, so you can only use gray workers in certain spots or only use white workers in certain spots. So as you're, it adds another element as you're trying to select which workers you're going to pick up and things like that. And I liked all that. I also found it frustrating, but not necessarily in a negative way. It really forced me to think and things like that. At the same time, even though you and I were tied at the end and you won on a tiebreaker, I did feel like I wasn't winning the whole game. I felt like I was really behind, and it turned out I was just, I'd been building up my army to do one huge point value swing at the end for one massive battle, which was really cool in that moment. And so I want to play it again to get a better feel, so I feel like my decisions are, like, I'm making more thoughtful decisions as I go that lead to that tie, that victory, or almost victory, as opposed to just kind of lucking into it. But that worker placement mechanism of in and out, I really like that.
Yeah, and have you played Coldwater Crown yet?
I haven't yet. I kickstarted it, but I've not gotten to the table.
You would maybe like Coldwater Crown because in some ways I actually think it might be a better game, but it still uses that one in, one out mechanic pretty effectively and has even a little twist on it too. So I liked Raiders of the North Sea. We'll talk about Spiel and Counterspiel a bunch next week in terms of where this one stacks up. I enjoyed my play of it for sure. I'd play Coldwater Crown over it in most situations, I think. And that might make some folks back in Albuquerque happy. I think Cameron taught me that one and is a big fan of that game. So that was Raiders of the North Sea. Last one I'll talk about for this day is sort of the completion of a story that started a year ago. Because a year ago, we played a little game from Jeff Engelstein called, well, at the time he called it Pit Crew. We wanted him to call it Race Cadets. It's actually called Pit Crew. Stronghold picked it up at the time. It wasn't picked up. It's now out. It exists. It's something you can play. And something, Sean, you bought immediately.
I did.
It's something Max bought immediately. Because we also had said at the time, let me give you our money for this one. This was one that was so fun, so frantic. What you're doing is you're working as members of a pit crew, putting tires on cars by playing cards down between each other, putting cards in the engine, putting fuel in the tank before sending it out on the racetrack to move as fast as possible before the other team can build. It's a real-time, do it as fast as you can, team game. By the way, I asked on Twitter, why couldn't you guys have called it Race Cadets? And Jeff Engelstein had a great response while we were recording. He said, well, one time someone accidentally called it Racist Cadets, and that kind of ruined the name for me.
Okay.
Anyway, I enjoyed the final production of Race Cadets. Came out looking pretty sparkly. Sean, you haven't played your copy yet, have you?
I have not.
But you have it.
But I have it, and I plan to do it at some point.
Suzanne, you like the final product for this one?
I love it. I think it looks great. At first, I kind of questioned the choice of mini cards, but I think it makes for a really tight package, and they play just fine. And, just as a little thing to add there.
You're the muse.
Well, I think that a while back, the story behind Pit Crew is definitely, I was thinking about games, and for some reason I said publicly, there needs to be a really cool game about the pit crew part of race driving. And race driving? Okay.
You know what? That, compared to everything Alex has said, is nothing.
Around the pit crew element around racing. It's got teamwork, it's got speed, it's got energy, all this other thing. And Jeff Engelstein replies back immediately and says, on it. And literally that was the inception of Pit Crew. And I love this game. I think it's a riot to play. And unbeknownst to me, Jeff had sent me a message after the game was published, and he says, hey, take a look at the number 27. The red number 27. I look at the number 27 red. I'm like, okay, that looks nice. It's very shiny. He's like, look closer. And so if anybody, when you pick up Pit Crew, take a close look at the red 27 car and see if you notice something a little different about it. And that means even though normally I'm color agnostic when it comes to games, I'll play whatever color is available. I don't care. That means on Pit Crew, I always play Team Red.
Nice.
Is it the pie car?
Nope.
There's something else going on with that. Anyway, so yeah, that's what we played so far at the con. We still got some time to go. Rest of Saturday. Currently, they're just wrapping up Baseball Highlights 2045 tournament. They're in the finals as we speak. It's BJ's son Jack, and I don't know the name of the other guy who's playing, unfortunately.
So wait a minute, Alex.
Yes.
Weren't you playing in that?
Oh, yeah, no, I was awful.
Oh, did
just
you
atrocious.
lose?
Oh, badly. So here's what happened.
The defending Empire champ lost in the first round?
In a humiliating fashion, I might add.
Man.
In fairness, I was playing Berkey, who's really good at this.
But he used to not be very good at this.
He used to not be very good. He is currently very good and was very good last year in the tournament when we played as well. He beat my butt in a 6-game series. 4-2. I lost.
You know what? Saying he beat my butt wouldn't normally be that bad, but just in context of everything you've said
this podcast?
in this episode.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see who wins. BJ's son, it's his, he just learned to play like last week or something.
Yeah, and he's been killing fools.
He's in the finals, yeah.
He swept someone at one point, which is pretty tricky to do, and he did it.
So we woke up early Saturday morning to get in line for the flea market, which has become a tradition. Normally, well, not normally, but last year we recorded while in line for it, but Alex had to play in his pesky Baseball Highlights 2045 tournament.
Woo!
But Suzanne and Ellie and I and Raquel joined us eventually. We got in line, and there were actually 2 lines this year. One for all of Tom's stuff, and then one for just general admission. And I picked up some good stuff. I picked up Tide of Iron, which has been on my want list for a while. Old Fantasy Flight game from like 2007, tactical World War II miniatures game. Dudes on a map kind of. With the first expansion, some map expansions. I also went back to Richard Borg's table. I picked up the Great War, which is the World War I Commands and Colors game. I picked up the Russian Army expansions for Commands and Colors Napoleonics, and a bunch of random stuff. Raquel came out with a bunch of free stuff. She's like, "Oh, this is free. This is free." I'm like, not everything's free because we have to ship it back. So, and she got Chewy a bunch of Haba games as well.
Good responsible parenting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get any card sleeves?
I did not get any card sleeves this year. No story to really top last year's sleeve buying extravaganza. How'd you do, Suze?
I did really well. I got a copy of a game that I've been wanting for a while called Felix Cat in the Sack. Yeah, go look that one up, which has actually got picked up for a reprint, which I'm super excited about because I really like that little game.
It's Felicia, right? Didn't they change it to Felicia?
Oh, that's right. They changed it to Felicia. Now I got to get both. And I picked up a bunch of Zen bins for my Dice Masters that I haven't played in like a year and a half, but the bins were bargains, so I got those.
Oh, forgot to mention, I got Clinic, Alban Viard. Sue showed it to me, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. Sent Raquel back, got it for a lesser price. She haggled down.
Nice.
Yeah, with the expansion. Yeah, I'm super excited for that.
So that's a lot of con talk. We still got some time to go here. I'm here most of the day Sunday. Are you out pretty early in the day Sunday, Sean?
We'll be here in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not here out until the evening, so we'll have more stories to tell next week's episode as far as the con goes. But there's one game that has played a big role in my con because I've played it a ton of times. We're about to review Flippity Ships. Actually, just called Flip Ships. Flip Ships from Renegade Games.
So, Flip Ships is a new release from Renegade Games Studios. It's designed by Kane Klenko.
Or Kane Kalenko, as Sean just said, and maybe edited it out.
Yep, sure did. Great, thank you. That totally defeats the purpose. With beautiful art by Kwanchai Moria. And Alex, you just had a fantastic interview drop with Kwanchai, which people should go back and listen to. So this is a cooperative dexterity game, although there's a competitive speed mode, but no. I think where this game shines is in the cooperative play. This is kind of like a Space Invaders, where you have these alien ships that are descending down to Earth, and you are trying to defend Earth from them with your little fighter ships. But instead of using some sort of action point allowance like you would in a game like Battle for Kemble's Cascade, which, Alex, you and I weren't too crazy
Yeah, we soured on that one pretty quick.
Yeah, we sure did. Here, you are taking these round discs, which are your ships, and there's this little wooden launcher, and basically it's just something that you set it on, and then you flick the ship. You flip it around, so to speak. Hey, that's the name of the game, Flip Ships. And what you're trying to do is land these on the different alien ships, which are the fighter ships, which are these different cards. And if you land on it, you destroy it. Although there can be a wrinkle because some of the ships might provide shields to adjacent ships, so you have to take those out first. Some of the ships may have multiple hit points that you have to deal with in one shot or in one round. And if you don't kill these ships, then some of them are going to move up a certain number of spaces. Eventually, when they reach your atmosphere, they deal damage to the cities, do enough damage, and you lose. What you're trying to do is eliminate all the enemy ships and score enough hits on the alien mothership, which is this, basically, it's a box. You put these cardboard pieces together and it kind of forms this box, and you're trying to flip it in, kind of like, getting the basketball in the hoop, so to speak.
It's a tricky shot.
Yeah, it sure is. And when you start the game, you're going to start with 2 or 3 ships, depending on the number of players. And as you take more damage, you're going to get access to more ships. And these ships all have unique special powers. So, for example, some of them might have targeting computers, which means you don't have to hit exactly, but if you're within a certain range, you might be able to actually hit some ships. Others may say, well, instead of hitting this ship, you can hit an adjacent ship instead, which it can be very useful in certain situations. And as you take more damage and get access to those more ships, like I said, some of those ships are kind of upgraded ships that have even stronger abilities. Eventually, you'll have seven ships. Is that right?
The most you can have is seven
seven
ships.
ships. Right.
You may not get there because you may take so much damage at a certain point you already lose, or you may not take enough damage, whatever the case is. But yeah, 7 ships.
So that's basically all it is. You're just flicking these ships and trying to stave off the invasion of Earth from these aliens, and hopefully you can win. That's how you play flip ships.
Flippity ships.
Yeah.
The ship flipping game of flipping ships.
So, Suze, what do you think about flip ships?
I like dexterity games. I'm not anti-dexterity games. They're fine. I'm a big fan of Catacombs, which, you have these discs with different stickers to indicate different monsters, and you're flicking them at each other, and they're wood discs. And even though I like that game, my finger hurts at the end of it. Like, it just, the way you have to flick those discs and things like that. One of the first things I noticed about flip ships was, besides the fact that it's absolutely stunning, is I love this because you're flipping these little cardboard things, and the way you're flicking, like, it doesn't hurt my finger. It's a dexterity game that I can play that doesn't hurt, and that was so exciting. And then it's cooperative, which, again, I don't usually like cooperative games, but, because of the dexterity nature and the silliness and things like that. And the theme, too. It's kind of fun. I was surprised by how much I like this game. It's beautiful, it's silly, it's fun, it has actual tension. There are so many little clever details. Like the mothership that's just a box, it's a specifically shaped box, so it has a little bit of a backboard in the very, very back. So if you angle your shot right, you can take advantage of that, things like that. Lots of little clever elements that Kane added really make this one fun for me.
It's a dexterity game that has some degree of strategy. It's not Combat Commander strategy. It's not in that level by any stretch. Or
No, they're about the same.
Yeah, of course.
No, just kidding.
I'm sure. No, but it has this strategic element, because I think what makes this game for me, Sean, isn't just the fact that it's fun to flip the ships.
Oh, and it's a ton of fun.
And it's a ton of fun to do that, by the way. It's that you have these different player powers that drive strategy. One player might be a specialist at going after the mothership. There's an ability where if you hit the mothership, mark it as a hit, and then reflip that same ship. It gives you kind of a multi-shot in that way. It encourages you to go long. There's one player who has an ability where if it lands on these moon spaces on the right, you can hit any ship in that row. That's nice. That gives you some incentive to fire more at the ships on the right. There's so many of these different abilities, and they work together in a way where there's a cohesive strategy. The other thing that helps is because it's cooperative, if someone's much better at the game than other people, that's okay. It's a team. You're working together to try and save this planet. This isn't one where, like in Crokinole, I guess if you're a Crokinole specialist for some reason or really good at Crokinole, you're going to dominate and there's not much to do. Now, that's fun to a degree, right? This one, because you're all working together, it takes away some of the frustration of not doing so well, of stinking up the joint.
Sure.
The game is gorgeous. It's straight gorgeous. But we'll walk through all this stuff, I guess. Sean, any initial thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think kind of like Suze, I was like, oh, all right, it's a dexterity game. It'll be fine. My go-to dexterity game is Ice Cool, which is kind of lighthearted. It's fun. It's quick. It's easy to set up. It's also a gorgeous-looking game. And then when I saw that there was a strategy component to this, I was like, uh-oh. Because another game like that is Flick 'em Up, which I am not a fan of. It's almost like a tactical miniature game, but with a dexterity element. I'm like, that doesn't sound interesting to me, and I didn't enjoy my plays of it. And so I was like, I don't think I like blending these genres, right? I don't like blending strategy and dexterity. Boy, was I wrong, because Flip Ships is awesome. It is really good. It's really fun. I'm pretty good at it too.
Yeah,
I've got
Not
pretty
bad.
good aim. I got pretty good aim. That helps. That certainly helps. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like we've said, the art is gorgeous. Quanchai is fantastic. Production value on the whole thing is really, really just great.
Yeah.
So,
let's walk through it as we do. Yes.
By the way, should mention this was a review copy. From Renegade Games Studios, just for full disclosure there.
Yes. Rulebook. Have you read through the rulebook at any point?
Well, you read. Well,
I did.
You read the rulebook.
I did.
and then I kind of would look things up from here and there. But really, I think you don't need too much here. It's a pretty simple game in terms of rules, mechanics. But you're the one that really read it.
I think if you were to read through, you'd have no problem. The one thing that we had difficulty with was that 6 ships or fewer mechanic was a little hard to find in there. There's something towards the end of the game where if you have 6 or fewer ships on the board, it triggers kamikaze mode for the ships effectively, where they're going to come in and explode in your city and do double damage, and all of them are wiped off the board. It's sort of it's in the end game of it. It's not super well laid out in the rulebook, I don't think. I think if you're reading the rulebook as a rulebook, you'd understand what's going on.
Instead of like a cookbook?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
But if you're trying to look up that rule, it's not the easiest to find necessarily.
You're right.
I love the FAQ in the back, though. That addressed pretty much everything. I liked how they're like, hey, why does it have to rotate? You know, you're supposed to rotate as you're flipping them. It's flip ships. And he says, well, it's flip ships, not frisbee ships.
Okay.
Which I thought was a nice little clever touch. Other than that, rulebook was fine and easy enough to teach. What mechanically is a fairly simple game.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, I mean, we've already kind of talked about the art, right? It's Quancha Moria, who I'm a huge fan of. I think he just does fantastic stuff. And this is kind of, I mean, how would you describe this art style? I mean,
it's a little retro. It's got a little touch of retro, but still with a lot of splashes of color, and it's vibrant and with a little edge to it. That's the best art description I got.
It's vibrant with a little edge to it.
Do you want me to go grab the box?
No.
Okay.
No, I know what it looks like.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Okay.
My exact description.
Yeah, can you show the box?
There's
for
a lot of red. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm doing it now.
Good job. So, but as far as the production quality, the thickness for the ships I think is just right, and everything. This is a great production.
Fantastic production.
But I will say that this is something I've come to expect from Renegade, because they're really hitting it out of the park. I mean, they really are. And this game looks great on the table. I think it's got great table presence. It's solid production and art overall.
The other cool thing, just a small little touch on the box, it's flip ships both facing up, and if you turn it upside down, it also reads flip ships, which I thought was the coolest touch. Suze, I take it you're a huge fan of this art as well.
There's no way you couldn't be. It's got a lot of color, a lot of energy, and I really can't say much more than what you guys have said. It's awesome, and that logo is absolutely brilliant.
Gameplay-wise, and I talked a little bit about this, but it really is those power cards that make the difference. And this balancing act of, at certain points, you want to take at least a little damage so you can unlock more ships to fire at this increasing array of enemies. You also need to take things out as you go, because if you don't, they're just going to cycle right back through the deck, and you're going to get whittled down into nothingness. It's a tricky one. I've found about a 50% win rate so far, playing on normal mode.
Okay, so what was interesting I found too was that there was this one turn where we wound up killing this one ship that was going to deal us 1 point of damage, and we were actually trying to avoid killing that ship because we wanted it to damage us so that we would get the next ship unlocked, which we really needed that next round, because basically at the end of a round you're going to fill in the 2 back rows with new alien ships if there's still some left in the deck. So interesting decisions to be made here. I mean, like we said, there is a strong strategy component to this game, because you have to look, okay, this ship is going to move up 2 spaces. This ship's only going to move up 1. So this is not a priority, except that, oh wait, this ship is actually shielding these other ships, so I guess we do have to kill this. There's also a certain type of ship that just moves all the way until it runs into something, either another ship and then it stops, or into the atmosphere. So all of a sudden you score a hit on this one ship that would only have moved 1, but cleared the way for ships behind it to just come crashing in, and you're like, uh-oh, now we have to deal with that. So lots of decisions to be made in this game, which again, something that I was like, oh, I don't want to mix that with dexterity, but for whatever reason, it really worked for me here.
Yeah, and I will say the dexterity, it isn't easy, but it's gettable for folks after a couple practice flips. They usually have a pretty good sense of it. It's not a hard one to get. What was interesting, Sean, is immediately after playing this the first couple times, because we played it back-to-back a few times.
Yeah.
you wanted to compare this one to Ice Cool to see how it stacked up.
Right.
And your sense, I think, before playing Ice Cool again was, maybe Ice Cool's a little better. I like Ice Cool a little better. Having played them side by side, where are you at?
It's difficult because they're very different games, right? So I was kind of thinking, well, what's my go-to dexterity game? Because Ice Cool has been my go-to dexterity game. Ice Cool is much simpler to set up. It's much simpler to teach. It is very lighthearted. There's not... I can play it with anyone, right? This, I think, is for gamers. I really think that Flip Ships is intended for gamers, whereas Ice Cool isn't. I mean, Ice Cool just won the Kinderspiel, right? So it's almost an unfair comparison. I mean, there are certainly circumstances where I would rather bring out Ice Cool over this, but if I'm pulling out a game for myself, I think I'm going to pull out Flip Ships. It was awesome.
A ton of fun. How many times did you play this over the course of the con?
I've played it 4 times, and I would happily play like 3 more games right now.
I played it 9 times this con.
Holy cow!
9. At a con where I'm trying to get in new plays, that is unheard of. Because this isn't Happy Salmon length rounds. This isn't Word Slam length rounds.
35 minutes, 40 minutes maybe?
Yeah, somewhere in that ball. It's not a long game by any means, and it certainly doesn't overstay its welcome. But yeah, this is one that I've played a ton, and there's a big reason for it. I've suggested in a lot of cases, even when, and I've actually been pretty good at getting new plays in, especially compared to you, Sean Ramirez.
My plays have been longer.
Yes, they have. But have they been stronger?
Yes.
Okay. That question had no meaning.
Sure didn't.
Anyway, so...
Aren't you a professional question asker?
I'm a professional nothing at the moment. I don't know if you're aware of this. I don't have a job. By the way, if you're interested in hiring an affable podcast co-host, just saying, that's a thing. I'm looking for work. Anyways, 9 games of this is a statement to me.
Yeah.
To play that over the course of the con, and it's made a statement to me. And quite frankly, like you said, I'd be okay playing a couple more times before this is all said and done. Absolutely. And on harder modes, I think if I played with the right group, if I were playing with you, we might step it up to expert, give it a shot.
I'm pretty dang good at it.
15 health in the city.
Yeah.
And more cards on the deck and more health on the mothership.
No, that's rough.
It's rough. Anyway, there's a lot of ways to play it. In terms of the difficulty, I like how that scales, and yeah, to me it scales beautifully. Theme, we talked about it. It's really, really thematic, I found. Did you find it thematic?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like you're playing Space Invaders, right? Well, sorry, not that you're playing Space Invaders, but that you're defending the city against the onslaught of ships. You feel it, coming at you. There's a little bit of stress there. Like you said, there's a little bit of tension. So, yeah, I think it's fairly thematic for what it does. I think it's more thematic than Battle at Kimball's Cascade, which was just kind of tedious. This I did not find tedious because every flip is just so exciting, especially when there's something on the line. Oh man, if we don't do this, we're going to take 4 points of damage. That's just we can't afford that.
Fun and a little bit of pressure, but would work fine as a beer and pretzels game too. Maybe best as a beer and pretzels game, really. One where you had a beer, yeah, why not? I think it'd be fun.
All right. Well, we can't drink here, Alex.
No. This is a family con.
Yeah.
Suze, where does this stack up with other dexterity games that you might enjoy?
It's pretty up high there. I mean, I'm in the minority. I like Ice Cool. My kids like it, but I'm very, very bad at it, and it hurts my fingers to flick those darn penguins. I get all the appeal of it, and there's nothing wrong with Ice Cool, but like comparing this to Ice Cool is apples to oranges to me. And I think about Catacombs, which is a dexterity game, a flicking dexterity game that I enjoy. Of all the flicking, I also own a couple other flicking games, like Flick 'em Up and things like that. Flip Ships is my favorite flicking dexterity game. It strikes a perfect balance to me. So yeah, I'm on board, and I've played it 3 times now at the convention, and I'd play it again too. It's that much fun.
We've got a 6-point scale for the Dukes of Dice. 1 is bad, bad, very bad. 6 is good, good, very good. But there's some more gradients than that. 6 is an all-time contender for the top 10, and then there's scores in between.
An all-time favorite contender for the top 10. A 1 is poorly designed but playable, not necessarily fun.
Sean, where does this get to for you?
All right, so I think this is going to be a 5. A very solid 5 that if this gets significant plays in the next year, I could see this becoming a 6 in a double take. 5 is a great game will rarely turn down a play of it. And I think that's true. Like I said, I'll be very interested to see what happens a year from now. I don't think this is something that won't come out, which happens on occasion with our review schedule. Like I said, this could move up. This is really good. And as I get better at it, as I get better at it, and as we keep ramping up the difficulty, because there's 4 levels of difficulty.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. So yeah, very solid 5. I mean, if we were to say have a dexterity sub score, it would be a dexterity 6.
Okay.
Easily.
And one that you could also see expansions for, right? Different ships that get thrown in the mix or different player powers. I think there's possibilities with this to get something added to it.
Absolutely.
If the demand's high enough. And it got sold out at the con. Maybe the demand will end up being high enough.
By the way, this should be available around Gen Con.
There you go.
For wide distribution.
And the point you were making about it coming out, I think what would keep it from coming out is setting more than anything. For instance, in Empire, it'd look really cool on the tables, but finding the space to do that game properly.
You need a little bit of room.
And if you lose them on the floor, which can happen, you want something where you can quickly get them back up. We'll see. I'd like to try it out at Empire to see how well it fits in that kind of space, but I think that would be the limiting factor for me anyway, is the environment. Suzanne Sheldon, what would be your score for this game?
Well, similar to Sean, and I've only played it 3 times. You guys have played it a little bit more than me, but I think after 3 plays, it's a 5. I would rarely turn down a play of it. It's a great game. It definitely belongs in my collection. And similar to Sean, if we had if we did subcategories, this would be a 6 on a dexterity game kind of subcategory. And is this kind of game ever going to crack into my top 10? Quite frankly, no. A dexterity game, I mean, it just isn't going to crack into my top 10 of all time. But I'll tell you, this is, for what this is, it is best in class. And there's no way it's not a 5 for me.
You combine a lot of things here for me. You combine the theme, which is old school video games, kind of, set in a more modern take. Yeah, I mean, it has sort of that look to it. It feels like Space Invaders. I like that. I like that it's a dexterity game that's fun to play with a good amount of strategy to it. I like how it looks on the table. The production is picture perfect, and I've played it so many times. I'm not qualifying this, Sean. I'm not qualifying this with a dexterity anything. It is a 6 for me.
Yeah, I think.
And it may make my top 10.
Really?
It may make my top 10. I have to sit down and think it through. It's certainly going to make my top 10 of the year, I'm pretty sure.
I think it would probably be my top 10 of the year.
At least and it's early for me, especially because I lost 3.5 months.
Well, yeah.
It's quite early. It's absolutely a 6. I fell in love with this one after a couple of plays, and this tends to happen at Dice Tower Con. You'll find one game that you fall in love with every year, at least one. Baseball Highlights 2 years ago for me. Happy Salmon last year for me. I think this was the first place we played Happy Salmon. And this year for me, it's Flip Ships. And to spoil what we're about to get into, it's my game of the con as well, obviously.
Boo!
Spoiling. So that's Flip Ships. I give it a 6. Sean, just shy of the boxcars with a 5, but he might bring it up on a double take. We'll see. Maybe not. Maybe not. I'd be surprised.
Well, Suzanne made a good point. Like, would it ever really be a contender for my top 10?
But yours is contender for your top 30.
Okay,
or
sure.
40 or 50.
Yeah, well.
I don't know. For me, it could be, just based on the kind of game.
I totally get that. Yeah.
So, scores go around. Sean, 5. Suzanne, a 5, and an unequivocal 6 for me for Flip Ships. Well, Sean, I'm packing my bags.
Oh, you're leaving again?
Yeah, I'm going to Kyoto.
Okay, that seems weird.
With my army.
You have an army now?
Yeah, I do.
Are you
an army of fans?
15% maybe.
Hey, that's a good number.
Yeah.
All right. No, but I'm talking not about actual travel for once. I'm talking about Jiraku, soon-to-be released game from Tasty Minstrel Games.
Oh, you're not being literal. I was so confused.
Yeah.
Ads are hard, Alex.
So in Jiraku, you are trying to play out armies to the board and control different territories of Japan with the ultimate goal of dominating Kyoto.
So what's interesting here, Alex, is unlike a lot of area control games, the main mechanic here is trick-taking. Yeah, that's right. You heard me. Trick-taking. It's a trick-taking area control game. area control, and trick-taking. How many times can I say trick-taking, Alex?
Several. Not an infinite number, but a good number.
So it's pretty interesting, right? I mean, because you don't typically see that kind of combination.
And it works really well.
It does. In fact, you have played this. You played this in your travels. I actually imported the copy before Taste of Minstrel Games was nice enough to kind of do that work for our listeners out there, which is going to be happening pretty soon. It's anticipated July, maybe August release for Jiraku.
You can check out Jiraku and all of TMG's other titles at playtmg.com. All right, we've been sitting here recording a while, and Suzanne is probably sick of our faces at this point. Oh, that's a vigorous head nodding yes. So, game of the con, I already gave mine out. Flip ships, faux show. Sean, your game of the con.
Oh, it's Combat Command.
Okay, I knew it. That's why I was asking you in the moment.
It was so good. I'm super excited to get some more plays of this in. It was just so good. I can't tell you why exactly, but I'm down. I'm down for this game. Yeah. A 2007 game was my game of the con.
Hey, it happens. It happens sometimes. Hey, Happy Salmon was last year, so stranger things have definitely happened on this podcast.
Sure.
Suzanne Sheldon, your game of the con.
My game of the con, since I cannot pick a restoration game because that would be totally Shell City, downforce. But since I can't pick a restoration game, I gotta say it's Sentient from Renegade Games. That Alex Cavern design, the dice manipulation, the area control, it's amazing. I just love it. And the fact that it plays in under an hour. I mean, that combination of thoughtful play, a little bit of player interaction, beautiful game, and plays quickly, that's a sweet spot for me. So Sentient would be my game of the con. And I've played it like 5 or 6 times.
Just real quick, if I were to pick a new game of the con, so not a 10-year-old game, it would be Lisboa.
Okay.
Yeah, Lisboa was excellent. I cannot wait. Oh, by the way, Raquel won Lisboa.
Oh.
Someone who never wins games, according to her, which is completely incorrect.
Oh, I thought won a copy of. Oh, never mind. Okay.
No.
Understood.
No. We paid for it the old-fashioned way.
Yes.
That sounds weird. I don't know. Anyway.
Is Kickstarter the old-fashioned way? Kickstarter's the old Kickstarter.
She won the game, as in she had the most points and was the victor.
I'm going down to the old Kickstarter depot.
Yeah. No, I think it's great, and I'm really excited. I feel like you would like this because you have liked Lacerda games, but
if it's streamlined.
But the more I talk about it to you, the more you're like, I don't know.
No, I'll try it. Lisboa, I'll try.
Okay.
Combat Commander, that's going to be a harder sell, sir.
I'll give you $1.
That's no.
Give you $5.
No.
Really?
Nah, not
$20. $20.
You need the money.
I might. $20 I might do.
All right.
But would you actually pay me $20 to play Combat Commander?
I'll buy you a sandwich at Empire.
That is a total lawyer move.
I'll buy you a sandwich at Empire.
Oh, man. Raquel said she'll throw me a picture of a Happy Salmon. Okay.
I don't know what that means either.
That's an interesting package deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, that'll do it for now.
Yeah.
We still got some time at Dice Tower Con. We'll be tweeting out, although this will already be out by the time you're hearing it, so you can go back and look at the tweets, I guess, or just wait a week and we'll talk more about stuff.
I've still got some Kemet left to do, which I'm super excited for.
Oh, Sean.
It's a Dice Tower tradition. I got to play a game of Kemet. So very excited for that. Maybe Combat Commander comes out again. Oh, man. Or maybe I even break out my Tide of Iron. Ooh.
I don't know what I'm doing. I might get in Godfather, possibly.
Oh, yeah. That'd be good.
Although I'm not sure. I don't know if I'll like it or not. There's a sense, there's maybe not. But yeah, maybe get in a game of Godfather. And I'd like to play the one that Suzanne's scared of, Attack on Titan. Suzanne is physically scared of that game. It is creepy.
The Titans are super creepy.
They're a little creepy. It's a board game. Come on, Suzanne.
No, it's super. They got these like unhinged jaws, and they got weird bodies, and they eat people. They eat people.
Are you Titan body shaming right now?
Okay, maybe a little bit, but they deserve it. They eat people, Sean. Come on.
Okay.
Delicious people.
They are delicious.
No. It literally, I think Attack on Titan falls in that zombie category for me. Where nope, I hard pass. Thanks though.
Love man on plate. Anyway.
Was that a Twilight Zone reference?
Yeah,
But also-
Suzanne is giving us the hard rap. It's time to wrap.
All right, so that's going to do it for the episode. Before we wrap it up fully, we got to do the rest of the top 6. I'm going to read them all because I have the little sheet over here.
And you wrote them down.
And I wrote them down. So Seaverworks suggested Convoy, con-voy, because we're at a con and we're all traveling out here. James Holzhauer suggested Dice Baby, because Alex can act like a baby sometimes.
What?
And we're at Dice Tower Con.
Hey.
No, I don't know. That's not what he said.
What?
Blaine Miley suggested Tower of Vassal instead of Tower of Babel. Adrian Deng suggested Dukes at Dice.
That was my runner-up
Yeah,
for sure.
no, very clever. And then Jeff Rademacher suggested Ode to Dice Tower Con.
Which
so
he had a whole poem on there. Which,
yes.
Yeah.
Which we would have read if we were better prepared right now.
Yep.
So
I mean, I can get it on the guild, but yeah, Susan's gonna strangle us if we go too much longer for this.
She really is.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it, guys. I've had a fantastic Dice Tower Con. There's still at least half a day left, give or take.
Yeah.
So, but that will do it then for episode 151, which was named by BJ. Oh, hey, BJ.
Hey.
How you doing?
What's up? Having a great time, Sean.
What was the name of your episode?
Rasp of Khan.
Oh man.
Which is applicable. I'm starting to feel the voice go a little.
Yeah, mine's fading in and out. How's yours doing?
I'm fine.
And BJ is a very proud papa because while we were recording this, guess what happened? BJ, your son took home the trophy for the Baseball Highlights Tournament.
That's right. Jack from Louisiana was taking on Jeremy from Jacksonville, and it went all the way down to the wire, 4-3. What an exciting championship and an awesome tournament.
And he hasn't been playing very long, right?
No, he learned the game about a week ago. His old man taught him and, walloped him the first game, and I've never beat him since. And then he steamrolled through the tournament. In fact, he took on your buddy, Berkey Badger.
Yeah, and he knocked him out in what was also a pretty close series. So congrats to you, and awesome meeting you this con, BJ.
Yeah, awesome, man. Awesome hanging out with all you guys. It was great. Love the Dukes.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 151. We're going to have another wrap here at Dice Tower Con. Until next time, this is Sean.
And Alex.
And Suzanne.
And Hail Hydra.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dukes of Dice. Today's episode was recorded at Dice Tower Con 2017 in Orlando, Florida. Our theme music is provided by Carbo Hydro M from his Prime Legacy album. The Dukes of Dice are a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. For other great board gaming podcasts, check out DicetowerNetwork.com, and for all the latest in the Dutchie, go to DukesOfDice.com. Find us on Twitter at Dukes of Dice. Join in conversations on our Board Game Geek Guild. Find us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks to our sponsors, Tasty Minstrel Games. You can check out all their awesome titles at PlayTMG.com. We'll see you back here in 1 week. Until then, game on!
Love on, man.